All right, hey, what's up, guys? Good morning to you. Giving you another review video, and so this one today is going to be going through section 5 and finishing out the chapter, going all the way through section 8. Okay, so we're going to be doing one problem that covers the concept and the topic that's within that section, and make sure that you pay attention to the directions up above. Gives you little hints about what we're going to be doing. I'm going to move off to the side here just in case you guys want to take a moment. Pause the video, copy all this stuff down, okay? So hope these videos are being helpful. I really think you guys got to make sure that you are watching them again and again, and it's just one of those benefits where if you guys are in class, you can't really pause the teacher, I'm sure, as much as you guys would like to do that at times. And there's times when, of course, you want me to rewind, and I try to do the best I can to go back and repeat myself. But with these videos here, you guys get all that control. So do that again and again and again. All right, let's take a look at section 5 here. So we are asked to solve, and basically the concept in section 5 was solving using square roots, okay? So you're going to want to do whatever you can to isolate, which means get it alone, the x squared right there. So to get x squared alone, the first thing that we're going to have to do is divide both sides by 5. Okay? So if we're dividing both sides by 5, what that allows us to do is cross out that 5 right there, and then all we're looking at doing is reducing this down and getting x squared equals 8. And now you're going to see all we have is that x squared, but we have to get rid of the exponent, okay? And what's the opposite of a square? The opposite of a square is a square root. So we're going to have to take the square root of both sides. So that would be square root here and square root here. The square root and the square are going to cancel each other out. That's going to drop the x down. Now, I'm going to pause for a second because a lot of you guys are not reducing your radicals. In other words, reducing that square root. And I'm noticing on some of your homeworks, you're using a calculator. That's the only way you're getting these decimal answers. No calculators. If you do that on a test, you're not going to get credit for that problem. You have to reduce the square root. So that means make a little factor tree. Okay? So what does 8 actually break down into? Breaks down into the square root of 4 and the square root of 2. Now the square root of 4 is a perfect root. It makes the number 2. The square root of 2, well, 2 is prime, and it doesn't work out nicely. So that means our final answer here is a 2 square root of 2. Okay, so that's how we're going to be simplifying that radical and solving for section 5. All right, let's move into section 6. We're solving by using complete the square, okay? So not everybody's favorite method, not my favorite method, but still I'm going to show you how to do it for those of you that do understand, really like to use this method, or find that you're willing to adapt to the problem. Because sometimes problems may be easier if you just factor it, or just complete the square, or just use the quadratic. So you got to make sure that if you're willing to, each method will benefit you in different ways if you understand how to use it. Okay, so first step, I see all 3 of these terms right here share a common factor, and that common factor is 2. So factor that 2 out. So let's pull the 2 out and rewrite what we have left over here in parentheses, x squared plus 6x minus 2. Okay? So you should just be looking at a nice trinomial, and we're going to go ahead and make sure that equals 0 is also right there. Okay, now since you factored out that 2, we're not going to be using that 2, okay, because we factored it out, so the trinomial in the parentheses is what we're really going to be focusing on to complete the square. Okay, so if you look, that 2 right there, if we were to think, what are factors of 2? Well, it's prime. It's only 1 and 2. It can't factor. 1 and 2 cannot make 6. So we have to get rid of that 2, move that over. So x squared plus 6x. That's going to stay. I'm going to leave a space. You guys remember in that Khan Academy video, he left some space, I left some space, because we need a brand new c value. So I'm going to take that -2 and move it over, which now over here makes it a +2. Now how do I get that brand new c value? It'll always be a plus sign, but you remember, we have to take b, which is 6, divide it by 2, and then square it. So 6 divided by 2, what's that? It's 3. 3 squared is going to make 9. So that is the value I put in right there at 9. Okay, if you want a lot more thorough descriptions, go back, take a look at section 6 video, rewatch that, okay? All right, now what we have, get some space right here, is we have a perfect square trinomial. Oh, and something that I forgot, you guys may remember, what you do to one side, you got to do to the other. So please don't forget that step. We put a C here. What you do to one, you have to do to the other. So this perfect square trinomial, it's going to make a square. X squared drops down to x. These guys are both plus, so that will be a plus. Now, what are factors of 9 that can make 6? Well, it's a perfect square. So 3 is that factor. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 plus 3 is 6. All right? And then what we get over here, 9 plus 2, we get 11. All right, now if you look back over here, how did we get rid of that square? By taking the square root, which we're going to do to both sides. The square and the square root will cross each other out, leaving x plus 3 to drop down. However, the square root of 11, 11 is prime. You can't use the factor tree over here, so we're going to put a plus or minus in front of it. Got to remember why, because plus or minus means you don't know, is it a negative, is it a positive? Because when you square something, they all equal the same answer. The final step here is subtract 3, and then minus 3 right there. So this is our final answer, a -3 plus or minus the square root of 11. All right, let's take a look at section 7. This was the oh-so-famous quadratic formula. All right, you got to remember that is a -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2a. All right, I've done it a few times, so you guys, if you don't have it memorized, keep working on it, review it, use it on that page of notes, which is vital for these tests. All right, so let's take a look. We're going to have to use the quadratic formula. So I see that b right here is a positive, but in the equation, they want me to make it a negative. So I got a -7 plus or minus, and then that says b squared, so I'm going to do 7 squared, okay, and then minus, and I, again, like to use the parentheses, so there's a 4, there's a, and there's c. C is a -3, okay, and then we're going to divide all of this by 2 times, and what is a? A is 2. All right, so let's start working this out over here. We're going to have 7 squared, which is going to get us 49, and that -7 stays there, plus or minus. All right, so we have a 49. -4 times 2 is -8. -8 times a -3 is going to make a positive 24, all divided 2 times 2 by 4. Okay, so then we're just going to do 49 plus 24, and then we're going to have to take the square root here. All right, so we're going to have a -7 plus or minus, and that, I believe, is 73. I'll double check my math in here. Good. Yep, that's right. And that is all divided by 4. Okay, let's take a look. Is there any way to simplify that radical 73? And I'll just kind of jump in and say there's not. All right, so on a test, let's say that we're 74. You know that 74 could be broken down, and that might be helpful to try. But in this case, 73 can't be broken down. So this right here is it. That is our actual final answer using the quadratic formula. You'll notice you leave a lot of things in square roots. Simplify them if you can, but leaving them at the square root is okay. All right, final problem right here. Section 8, all I want to know is how many solutions. You got to remember, we are using what's called the discriminant. Remember, the discriminant is just this part right here, underneath the radical. You don't include the radical. So the discriminant is b squared minus 4 times a times c. Okay? So what is b? b is 12. So we have 12 squared minus, and then we have our 3 parentheses. You have 4. What's a? A is also 4. What's c? C is 9. All right. 12 squared is 144. And I've worked out the math here. 4 times 4 times 9, crazy enough, is also 144. So 144 minus 144 equals 0. And who remembers, if you have a discriminant of 0, how many solutions do you have? 1. You have 1 solution. So the answer here is 1 solution. All right, remember, if you have a positive discriminant, you have 2 solutions. 0 gives you 1 solution. If you have a negative discriminant, you have no solution. All right, so hopefully this is helpful. Go back, rewatch all these videos, guys. This is your prep. This is your study for the test. Take diligent notes on that one piece of paper, front and back, and I'll see you in the next video.